All right, guys, welcome back. This time it's a new name, which is hilarious. Actually, we'll probably be editing this anyways, but welcome to the iCoach. Wait, scratch that. Welcome to the iCoach project. So, no longer the iCoach podcast. It is now the iCoach project, sponsored by iCoach Nutrition. Guys, new section this time. We're going to be opening it up to nutrition clients as well as mentor clients. And I have one of my first guests on here, a longtime client and a current client, Mr. Evan. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Justin?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. So, dude, I want to dive right into it, kind of like we do with all of our guests, and really, tell us a little bit more about you and who you are, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are in life up to this point.
Okay, my name is Evan Barger. I'm a Duncanville Fire Department member. I'm a firefighter and paramedic for them. I've been a paramedic about a year and a firefighter for them for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. Been with the department since November of 2016. A little bit about kind of my career path. I didn't initially know I wanted to be a firefighter. I went to college at Hardin-Simmons University out in Abilene, Texas. Thought I wanted to teach and coach, and found out that I didn't. And something I was involved in at the time was umpiring baseball. I tried to pursue a career in professional baseball. I did that for 3 years. Didn't work out, and so I came home. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I had a friend of mine say, hey, why don't you look at being a firefighter? And I took a couple of classes, did some ride-outs with Duncanville, actually, and fell in love with the career. I really have a strong appeal to serving others and helping others, and it turned out to be a really good fit for me. One of the challenges with that is trying to get hired on. It took me 3 years to get hired on at a fire department. I did volunteer for about 6 months before I got hired on after I attended fire school. But a lot of people are really kind of amazed that, I took so many tests. It took me so long because they know my personality, and it was kind of a shock to them, but those 3 years it took me it was a lot of growing experiences, a lot of learning about myself. But I'm now in what I believe the greatest profession in the world, and I love going to work every day. I love doing what I do, and it's a real blessing to be a part of the fireman brotherhood.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I had no idea that you attended Hardin-Simmons.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we've ever had this conversation before, but that's where like all of my mom's side of the family is from, is Abilene.
Yeah.
And McMurray University, that baseball field. So like literally my grandpa's like backyard is like that essentially.
It's funny. I've worked a few games out there, and it's a really nice stadium, real nice ball field. I don't want to say anything else about McMurray because they're crosstown rivals, so we'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I grew up going there my whole entire life, and it's so funny because I would always tell my mom, because she grew up there, and I was like, oh, coming from Dallas, I was like, I hate this place. Like it's like a ghost town, and it's actually developed quite a bit since then. So we've gone out there, but yeah, it's crazy, man. I used to. A small world. I don't think we had that conversation before.
No, we haven't. We really haven't. It's really, really funny.
But and then also I think I mentioned to you before. So my dad was a firefighter, and he never went on full time. He had like another job, but he did it like part time and just volunteered. But I think he volunteered for like 10 years or so, and it was the same thing. He said a lot of the same things that you did. I mean, he really, really fell in love with it. And I think for him, it was just kind of like an escape, being able to kind of do it. Because what are the volunteers, how many shifts do they do like per month?
So for me, we had a minimum requirement, and it was like 48 hours, or if you wanted to do 4 12-hour shifts or two 24-hour shifts, that was up to you. I treated it like a full-time job. With as much as I could, I would, they paid us like a stipend, but I was pretty much there every third day. And then once I kind of reached my stipend limit, I was trying to pay bills. I was working like 4 jobs at the time, trying to make ends meet, while I was, trying to get hired on a full-time department. So, for me, I just treated it like a full-time job. A lot of people they'll do that too. They just like to volunteer in their community. You know, they do, they're a banker during the day, and, but they like helping people. So they learn some EMT skills, and, they'll go to fire school or whatever and kind of learn how to serve their community, and just help out. So it just kind of varies in, what kind of your agenda is. Like for me, I was using it kind of as a stepping stone to hopefully, look good on my resume for a department and hopefully get hired, and it ended up doing that. So.
Yeah. Well, so, a question, like, as I think back with my dad, and, I think there was times where he wanted to make that jump, and one was trying to get hired on, but you're right. It was extremely hard. And so I mean, is it just like over demand? I mean, or like, why is there so many, like, why is it so hard to become a firefighter, or get on full time?
I think part of it is, you know, for some people, for like, it can be lengthy because depending on, not everybody's going to be, a first ballot hire, I guess, if that makes sense. I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, oh yeah, I applied here and I got a job first try. And that kind of, makes me mad. And, I'm sitting here really struggling, and whether maybe they didn't do well on the test, the entrance test, or maybe they weren't in good enough shape. They failed the physical agility, or maybe you get to the oral board. It's real nervous. You're in front of a room of like 5 to 7 firefighters and chiefs, and you're answering questions, and they're tough questions, and maybe you didn't answer one the way they wanted you to answer, or maybe there's politics involved. Unfortunately, sometimes that does happen too. But there's so many different factors. When I talk to young guys that are trying to get on in the fire department, I just tell them apply anywhere that you will be willing to move to. And for me, that was pretty much anywhere in the state. If I had family or a friend in that city, I was going to consider testing there. I'd test all the way down in San Antonio. I would have tested in Abilene because I had family and friends out there. I would have tested in Lubbock. I have friends out there. But also, what makes it difficult is, some departments, they only want already, seasoned people. Maybe they're coming from another department. They already have all the certifications, so they don't want to, pay for you to go to paramedic school or go to firefighting school again. They want you to already have all those tools. And so they're a little more selective, and, they can afford to do that, or, for whatever reason. So there's a lot of different things involved in the hiring process. May also, they do background checks, psych evals, medical physicals. So any of those things, if, there's a red flag that pops up, you lie on your polygraph, that usually is, you're done or whatever. If your psych eval comes back a little shaky, maybe, we're not so sure if he can handle the stress. And so yeah, there's a lot of different factors that are in play with that for sure.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So Evan, so talk to me a little bit. Obviously, we work together, in nutrition coaching and things like that. And I know as a firefighter, working with you and working with several other firefighters, and really just like, not just firefighters, but really like shift workers, nurses, doctors, all of these different people. Like what are some of the biggest struggles for you that you've experienced with nutrition and lifestyle around being a firefighter?
So probably the biggest one is sleep. Uh, you know, I go to the station. I get up early, about 5 a.m. Whenever I go to work. I'm at the station at 6. Um, and depending on the day, you could run 2 calls, you could run 20 calls, or some fire departments they'll have like 30 calls in a shift, and that's a lot. That's over an hour. That's a call over 1 call per hour for that whole 24-hour shift. We sleep at the station, we cook at the station, we do all that stuff. So you you try to get comfortable. You sleep when you can, if you're allowed to. Um, but like sleep disturbance is probably the biggest uncontrollable thing that I've had to struggle with. There've been days where we've been busy all night. 3 4 calls after 11, or whatever, and you maybe sleep 1 hour in duration, and then you're up again for another call. Sometimes, like yesterday, we weren't too terribly busy, but we had a call at like 12, and then we had another call at like 3. So I'm right in the middle of that REM sleep, and then bam, I'm waking up, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, we gotta go take care of this. And that disturbance in your sleep cycle is a big struggle. Something else is how you eat at the station. A lot of people, they have a routine. We're pretty consistent about what we eat. We try to keep it healthy on my shift. We'll do a lot of veggies and grilled chicken, but there's some shifts that all they want is tacos and enchiladas and Mexican food, and I love that stuff just as much as anybody. But that can be kind of detrimental to your health. But also probably the third greatest factor I would say is just the stress of the job. You go very high demanding. You're a lot of people are asking a lot of you. You are put in some stressful situations, whether it's a house fire, or you're doing a CPR, or a bad wreck on the highway, or there's a lot of stress just from that alone that probably plays an underlying issue too. But with all those being said, you have to take a day by day, and you just make the best of it. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, I think you highlighted, three really great areas that, I mean, we could sit here and give out the perfect plan, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work, right? Like it's very individualized, protocol for each person, and like everybody's just in a different situation. Like, some people are going through exactly that, and then they have like, kids on top of it too, and it's like, so we never know. But with the sleep side of it, so you said that you started as a firefighter like 2 3 years ago.
yeah.
So did you experience the same sleep issues before that, or like do you feel like all of your sleep issues have like changed because of like just your work schedule?
I think I didn't really pay much attention to it until you and I really started working together. I'd get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, but I just wouldn't think anything of it. Or, there'd be some nights you toss and turn. This is before I was in the fire service. But then when I really started noticing it was when I was on shift, when I got hired on, and on my off days, I'm not working, but I'm getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, or 4 o'clock in the morning, or, maybe it's once, maybe it's a couple times, and I noticed that, like, man, I'm not, I'm tired all the time. I'm kind of, I maybe sleep in a little bit, but my body's used to getting up at 5 or 6. And so, I'm trying to get as much sleep as I can, but you still feel tired because of the disturbance of sleep. And, now I try to offset that with, several different factors. First I just listen to my body. If I know, this past weekend, I worked on a Saturday and we were busy. We were busy all day. We had a call around like 5:45 in the morning, and our last one before that was probably around like 11. So that's roughly 6 hours of sleep. And then, but what else had I been doing from the rest of the week? What was my sleep like? What was I doing? And Sunday came, and I was tired, and I slept. I took like a 5-hour nap, but I was just like, man, I'm gonna lay down. I'll wake up when I wake up, and then go back to bed when it's get back on a normal sleep cycle. And Monday came, I felt great. I was like, man, that was I slept probably over 12 hours, but it's what my body needed. And the big thing is that just listening to your body, and trying to go to bed on your off days and getting good 8-10 hours of sleep. So, but a lot of that was because you and I had a lot of conversations about sleep and trying to be real consistent with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always give the credit back to the client, right? Because I can sit here and tell you to do whatever, but like you have to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's so crazy, whether it's shift workers or whether it's really just anybody, like sleep is one of those things most people just take for granted. And the reality of it is, it's like, people come to us and they're like, what supplements should I take? And they're over here, sleeping 5 hours a night. And so it's just like, sleep's free. You don't have to pay for it, like just
Yeah.
prioritize it.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it's obviously way harder when when your work schedule is this. And so it's just your reality. And so it's like, all right, well, what can I do to navigate through this to the best of my ability? Right. And for you, you said it best, like truly understanding and learning how to listen to your body. Right. And taking that 5-hour nap on a Sunday when you need it, like because you feel that you need it, and like not feeling guilty about that or anything, like that's just an example of like listening to your body and making sure that you're prioritizing recovery, especially around times where that your body's really getting stressed from maybe it's work, maybe it's a number of other things in your life too.
That was probably one of the biggest things that we had talked about, especially early on, was, the quality and just how much sleep are we really getting and recovering. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are I mean, speaking on sleep, like if you had maybe 1, 2, 3 like tips for the other firefighters or shift workers out there. And again, guys, these are just tips. Like Evan doesn't have it figured out 100% perfect. Like nobody's ever going to. But is there anything that's like helped you in like maybe your night routine or anything like that, to at least maybe manage it a little better?
Yeah. Some things that I try to do is, like at my house, I try to get rid of all the ambient light in my room. I do have a TV in my room, and I used to like it. Probably the biggest thing is I would watch TV, like Sunday Night Football. I'm going to watch the end of the game and turn it off. I've really actually stopped doing that. I really don't watch TV in my room anymore. I've tried to. If I do, I'll watch TV in the living room, and then go to bed. I have like little lights, like a little blue or red light in my room, and I've covered that up so that it's pretty much pitch black in my room. Helps me stay asleep, and then I have pretty dark curtains, so there's just a little bit of light that comes in whenever it's time for my body to wake up. That's one thing I do. I'm trying to think of what else. Normally, like, I don't have a problem going to sleep. It's more of like in the middle of the night kind of deal. I'm kind of watching my water intake right now. I'm trying not to drink too much water before bed or leading up to bed. Um, so I try to drink more water like from beginning of the day till about dinner time, and just not so much at dinner, so I don't have to get up in the middle of the bathroom, in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
Right.
There's that, and sometimes if I do find myself like restless, I'll read before bed. Just a few pages, and then usually that gets me pretty sleepy, and then you know, lights out.
Yeah. No, those are great tips, man. I like that. Um, cool. So as we kind of transition, I want to dive into kind of that second point that you made, which is, the kitchen of the fire station or the break room at the hospital or, whatever, right? Or the teacher's lounge, right? So like these areas where I know at fire stations, like my dad, they would bring everybody loves y'all, right? Everybody brings y'all things all the time, right? Which is awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, it's great. But sometimes maybe it can be a challenge to, navigate through these things, at the firehouse. So, how do you, like, from a mindset standpoint, like, how do you kind of navigate through, all of the, especially like around the holidays that we just went through? Right? Like they're bringing up a lot of cookies and cakes and desserts and all of these things. Like what was your approach maybe before, and like what's your approach kind of now?
I guess before you and I started working together, I really didn't not care, but I kind of just, ice cream after, before I go to bed. Sure, why not? I have a little ice cream. It ain't gonna hurt anybody. Or, there's a lady. She brings like, she'll go to Costco and buy these two huge trays of assortment of cookies, and they're good. And we talk about, oh yeah, make sure you eat the oatmeal cookies; they're more healthy for you. We'll make little jokes like that, and yeah, people do bring a lot of stuff up there. For whatever reason, I felt like I kind of just know, and now, like in the front of my brain, I'm just like, hey, like, can't be really eating that. It's not lining up with our goals. One goal, a few goals that I had this month was like, no sweet tea, no ice cream, and you know, like that's challenging at the fire station. A lot of people do like ice cream, and desserts and stuff, and been able to maintain that this whole time, just because I know, hey, like I wrote it down, like this is a goal. January, we're trying to get back on track with things, and I know like that, and along with a couple other goals that I have, like it gets me on the right track with reducing that refined sugar. Um, so something that I initially struggled with is I started meal prepping a lot at home. I would meal prep for, almost every 2 to 3 days on my off days. That way I had food going up to the station. So I'm not snacking on the cookies or, the whatever we ate last shift, or, perusing other fridges like, ooh, I'm hungry, kind of. So I started bringing my own food, and a lot of vegetables, a lot of healthier, options, and I would eat that instead. And it changed a lot. My cholesterol, I had some flags come back for that in my yearly workup, and we worked together, and in about 6 months we dropped it was like 40, 50 points, something like that. And but it was just making your eating habits, making your nutrition a priority. So meal prepping at home, not eating out, just because it's convenient. And hey, look, I'm going to spend however many hours today, 2 hours, I'm going to cook for the next 3 days. I'm going to take that with me to the station, regardless of, people making fun of me eating Brussels sprouts for breakfast. And, we joked a lot at people would be like, what are you eating? Well, Brussels sprouts for bread. Yeah, man, I got to get those greens and got to get those veggies. And we're like, ugh, that's, you get made fun of, little jokes here and there and stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to know it's worth it. And there's a lot of research coming out right now about correlation between like sugar and cancer, and especially in the fire service, it's like 60 to 70% of all firefighters are going to get cancer in some form, way or another. So, like, I'm taking the steps now to set up those habits. That way, when I'm getting close to the end of my career, I'm able to enjoy my retirement. I'm not, going through chemo or diabetes or, a lot of guys. The big killer, probably 20 years ago was heart attacks, high blood pressure, eating crappy food at the station. So like I have all that information and knowledge, and I just kind of keep that rolling around like, hey, like if I want to have a long, healthy, sustaining life, I got to make tough choices now that'll pay off in the long run.
Yeah, man, I love that, dude. That's I think that that's the realization that I hope that everybody gets to at some point, but it really is one of those situations everyone just has to like find their self whenever they're ready, because it's the realization that like you got one shot, right? You got one opportunity at this life, right? You only get one body, right? So, the way we treat our body is really a representation of our like happiness and like, that's a whole nother subject and topic we could dive into, but yeah, man, I love those words. So the third, kind of the third thing that you added there, remind me again. So we had the sleep, actually, before we dive into the third, I want to dive into, so what about the mindset piece? Like, because a lot of people have a really tough time with like you were getting peer pressured, you were getting made fun of, like, and I know they're just like joking with you, but a lot of people can't handle that. Like a lot of people fall into that and it's because of their environment, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, give us just like your best tip real quick for like the mindset side of that.
I think for
Is it
me,
just knowing your why? I mean, is that what you would say? Like,
yeah, I think, why do you want to, either if it's lose weight or, if it's something in the gym related, you want to perform better, or, hey, like, I don't like the way I look, or, whatever it is. Like for me, initially it was, hey, my cholesterol levels are high. I've been in pretty good shape for most of my life. I played high school sports, I CrossFit and did all that stuff, and I still do. And like, I'm 30 years old and the doctor wants to put me on high cholesterol medicine. And I said, that's ridiculous. He said, hey, your cholesterol levels are up, we're going to need to put you on medicine. And I pretty much said, F that. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm 30 years old. I'm in generally good health, and why, like, I got to be on. And I was like, no, this is not happening. And that's when I reached out to you, and you helped me with, hey, here's some tools. Let's start implementing those tools. Let's get a good baseline of kind of what Evan does, and then let's get a game plan together. And then, we reached that goal, and it was like, all right, great. And then like after that, it was just kind of this lull period. Well, what's next? Like what, so I've lowered my cholesterol, and that's great. Is it going to be low again is it going to be lower like it was last year? Is it going to be up again? Okay. So then we had this discussion, I think it was at the end of December, what is the really underlying factor in why this is such a big deal? And for me, it was, okay, I do a job that, at any given point, someone possibly needs my help. And what if I can't do my job because I'm overweight, or I'm not able to perform because And a lot of it could be, well, if you're eating bad, you may not be able to perform at the highest level, or you have put yourself in a position where, oh yeah, I worked out a couple times, but you're not really pushing yourself. And so, you and I, we talked about, we need to, what's my why? And for me, it was like being able, when called upon to do the job that is required, being able to do it. And, that's really been the kind of push in the past like 30 days. I've probably worked out more this month than I was, in the previous 3 months. I wasn't taking it as seriously, wasn't taking my job as seriously for whatever reason. Just got into a little lull and was like, not really feeling it today. I'll just kind of take it up. Well, that started stacking up, and but I couldn't do that anymore. I can't put myself in a position where I'm not going to be able to succeed. And so that was really probably the big why. And at the end of the day, like, I can't, like, who cares if I get made fun of for eating Brussels sprouts? Like, you got to take care of yourself. I don't want to be the guy that, because I was eating ice cream every night. And some people can do it. Great. Awesome. Good for you. I don't think I'm that guy, but like, if I don't take care of my body, I don't want to be the guy that's, 45 years old at the station having a heart attack. And, what's going on here? And, well, I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be, hey, Evan, I need you to do this, and not be able to perform because I wasn't strong enough, or I wasn't in shape enough, or, any of that stuff. So I really made that my push for like 2019. Hey, like, let's start taking this more seriously. Let's start, working out more. Let's, get our cardio back up to where it was, pre-hire days. I was working out a lot. I was in really good shape. And let's get back to that person and, taking care of yourself and, taking care of your body. That way, at the end of my career, I can walk away. I'm still in great health. I'm still able to go enjoy my retirement. I'm able to enjoy the life I have with my family. If, kids, grandkids, if they're around, stuff like that. And, that was really the big push for, setting those goals, and not just thinking of, the short term, thinking long term, thinking, the consequences of what you're doing today versus what's going to happen in 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And I guess my mindset was, not to be cliche, but you just got to do it. Like, you got to prioritize it. If it's really, truly important to you, for me, like, writing things down, I tend to stick to it more. So, I write stuff on my mirror in my bathroom to remind myself. I consciously, when I go eat out, I try to make, I don't do it every time. Sometimes, hey, it's family day, whatever. We're, just enjoying that. But I consciously make decisions that are, pushing me towards that end goal. Like, a lot of people, they, oh, how many alcoholic beverages can I have this week? Or, oh, if I just have one, here, that's okay. One that, man, I have no problem shutting alcohol down. Like, it's bad, like, for my sleep. I usually wake up and I'm cramping and all dehydrated, and I feel like crap the next day. And yeah, sure, it was, cool to socialize, but like, I don't necessarily need alcohol to be social. And so, like, I find things that help me get me back on track. I find things that, I know are going to push me in the right direction, and I stick to it. And, for me, it's just always keeping that end game in mind, always keeping those goals and that why. Hey, like, don't be that guy at the end of his career is, diabetes and, heart problems and all that stuff. And, be the guy that's healthy now, whether it's cool or not, be in shape now, it'll pay off in the end. So.
Yeah, man, I love that, dude. I think that's extremely powerful, and I think it's just great perspective. for the listeners. One question I had for you: do you think that, like, we talk about, like, everyone knows, like, my story and kind of like that rock bottom moment that, like, really made me wake up and realize, like, the one opportunity, the one life, all of these things. So, like, do you think that this shift would have happened for you if you wouldn't have gone and seen the doctor? And, like, do you think that, or maybe it would have just happened later when something finally happened? Like, do you feel like that was kind of like your quote unquote, I don't want to say rock bottom, but just your eye opening moment?
Yeah, I think for me, it wasn't necessarily like you said a rock bottom moment, but it was definitely an eye opener, you know. And I think probably it would have happened eventually at some point. Well, because our department, we do annual checkups anyway. We do a stress test, we do body comp, stuff, and flex. And they have their little test or whatever, and my doctor, um, he does. Like, I also go and do an annual physical with my primary care doctor, and I think it would have probably came up, because it was coming off of the blood work. Um, but I don't know if it would have been as big of an impact had it happened later, because I was 30, and I was like, man, like, I'm young, I'm pretty good health. Like, you want to put me on high cholesterol medicine? And it really, it would be more of an eye opening experience. And it's like, man, this sucks. I don't want to do that. Like, surely this isn't right. But it really kind of made me, sit down and think, like, okay, like, what are choices are we making daily that are playing into this? Oh, drinking every couple of days, okay, maybe that's part of it. Well, and you and I, we went through all those, little biometric feedback, and we were able to get a good handle on kind of what kind of narrowing down the problem, and then we accomplished it, and it was about, I guess, 5 or 6 months that we knocked that out. So yeah, I think it probably would have eventually came to fruition eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm a big believer in, just that sometimes we just have to get woke up, and I don't know. For me, like, it happened at 18 years old. For some people it never happens. So, but I think, like, putting yourself in an uncomfortable position and, like, not being afraid to, like, reach out for help, right? Like, being vulnerable and, like, like, I'm a huge believer, as like, in coaches, and, like, coaches need coaches. Like, everybody needs a coach. Like, I think everybody can get value out of having one. So, dude, I've gotten a lot of value out of this, and I think the listeners and viewers will too. One final question for you, because I think this is super powerful for those that are in your same field. Can you talk a little bit on the importance of leading from the front as a firefighter at your firehouse, in terms of everything, like the nutrition, the lifestyle, the working out, like, leading from the front, and, eventually at some point hoping and praying that people follow your lead?
I think in my field specifically, it's probably more challenging than others. So, fire department's very much seniority based. How long have you been here? Your rank, things like that. And with me, I've been in my department a little over 2 years. I've, our department is we've done a really good job here since I've hired on, and probably since before I started hire on, about making health important. We put in 2 really, really nice weight room facilities. We upgraded all of that. It was right as I was getting hired on. We got all this new equipment in. We wrote a grant to receive some money to help with that. And, we started doing annual physical agility tests, that way, hey, every year we know, like, okay, our guys are either they are getting better, they're not getting better, stuff like that. Hey, something that I have tried to do is, I make, as a low man, as a young guy in a department, I just make suggestions. And the big thing is like not getting disencouraged, or or down whenever your suggestion doesn't happen. There's a lot of different things involved, like oh, can we fit it into our training schedule this month? Oh, you're also fighting, habits and old habits, and like, oh, well, this is the way we've done things for a long time. And so part of it is, you just have to do it. You have to just be the example. So while, yes, you do get made fun of from time to time, you just have to take charge. We do have, it's not mandatory, but like, we encourage all of our guys to work out at the station. Sometimes that's not possible. If you're busy all day, you're gonna be in there for like 5 minutes. And there've been days like I've been working out and it sucks. You're working out, you got a good pump going on, or you've got a good sweat going, and then boom, you got to go on a call. Well, you come back and then you do like another set or two, boom, you got to go to another call. Then you come back and you do a couple more sets, boom, you got to go to. And it sucks. It's frustrating. For me, I try to think of, the day I'm at the station is game day. You don't practice on game day. You don't, so I don't do a whole lot at the station, but I work out really hard at home. And, I make sure that the 2 days that I'm off, I'm getting in, I'm working out, I'm being active. And that's important to me. So, guys will be like, hey, are you working out? Yeah, I work out hard at home. Oh, okay, cool. Or, or if we do something at the station, I'll just do something real quick, something real brief, because I know, hey, sometimes we're just busy. But it's being proactive. It's being, hey, like, when we go to the store, hey, what kind of veggies do we want? Oh, I hate veggies. Well, you're also complaining about, you want to lose 30 pounds so you can buy that new truck because your wife said you could. Well, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm making suggestions. I do it all the time. We try to make healthy choices and just do the best that we can. Maybe eventually down the road, I can be in a leadership position and start, having more of a voice. Right now, I just try to do it with like little things like, suggesting healthy meals. If I'm in control of going to the store, buying vegetables, whether the rest of the crew likes it or not. This may sound really dumb, but like we buy nitrate-free bacon. We love bacon, but we know like the nitrate stuff has problems with health concerns. So we buy nitrate-free bacon. We buy like no preservatives in our our breakfast sausage or whatever. So we do little things like that to kind of to offset what we have going on. In a couple of years, maybe I can put some more effort into bringing some more tools into the department. So that's just kind of how I be proactive. Right now, it's probably real subtle. I can make suggestions. I can, talk to those that are in charge and see how they feel, maybe drop a suggestion. But at the end of the day, just trying to lead, the best you can do is probably lead by example. So bringing food from home and doing, that's probably the best way. And then just, be an example in general. So.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, dude, Evan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time today, and hopefully other firefighters and shift workers out there that watch this, hopefully this helps them and adds some value to their life. And I think the biggest takeaway for me from this whole thing is, just make sure that like you take that second to create the awareness for yourself. Like just assess what you're currently doing in life, especially if you don't feel good or if, like you don't have energy or whatever. And just see, what are those low hanging fruit? Like what are those things that you're doing? What are those habits that you're consistently doing that are not moving you forward and really, taking a toll on you? And then from there, like start taking action, but at the same time, just realize that your environment, it's all over the place. Like, right. It's like you can do your best to make it like structured chaos, I guess, but it's still going to be a challenge. So, have peace with yourself and like, don't sit here and beat yourself up about, trying to be perfect. I think just if we can slowly but surely start to make better lifestyle habits, like one thing at a time. Don't try to do it all, right? Don't do the all or nothing method. Like just literally pick your biggest issue, start there, and start trying to create consistency in improving that habit. So
Yeah, definitely not being discouraged. I know, there were sometimes like, man, like I'd step on the scale and be like, man, I haven't lost any weight. What's going on? But you like working with you, you really found out, well, there's other, feedback that we need to listen to versus a little number on the scale. But, surrounding yourself with people that are encouraging, that, are pushing you to be the best version of yourself is really, really important, to essentially obtaining what your goals are, and regardless of what they may be, whether it's, a job or, nutrition or weights or whatever it is. So I just, shout out to you for really for really pushing and really staying on top of me and, pushing me to where I want to go. So thanks to you, Justin. I really appreciate it.
hey man, like I always say, thanks to you. You're the one putting in the work. I can be the smartest person in the world. I can tell you, I can give you the perfect plan, and it truly is about you taking action. And so I commend you for that. Dude, Evan, thank you so much, my man. It was a great episode, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Justin. We'll talk to you soon.